Hey, Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Danny, and thank you so much for inviting me to be on here. I'm very excited to be here with you.
It's a pleasure to have you here because you do incredible things for the nanny industry. I feel like you're known everywhere. And, you've been an entrepreneur for 25 years, built and sold a multi-million-dollar service business. What is the story behind you, Rebecca, and how did you get to where you are with helping agencies?
So that is a loaded question that's going to come with a long answer.
I'll take it.
But I love telling my story because I am so passionate about helping nanny agencies in particular, but all service-based businesses. So my story starts, I was very young. I got married when I was 22 years old to a man who was 10 years older than me. And I was working as a nanny. And I had a nanny job with a billionaire family that was like in the news. President Bill Clinton was the president at the time. This is late 90s. And this family regularly had the Clintons visiting their home. And so you can imagine, the type of screening that should have been done on me as a nanny at the time. I got the job when I was like 19, I think, and I was there for a few years. I went through an agency locally in San Diego who did not fingerprint me, did not background check me. And I even used a fake reference because I had never been a nanny before. I just worked in childcare. And I tell this story because it really resonates with a lot of agency owners. So my mom had a different last name than me, and I had a sister that was 18 years younger than me. And that was my long-term nanny job that I used as my reference. And
Totally.
this agency placed me with a very high net worth family that should have been given a full, like, you know, thankfully I wasn't a criminal or anything, but I had to be like, FBI cleared by them because the president and his wife and his family were at the home a lot and I was around them. And I remember telling my husband, I was like newly married, 22 years old, and Bill Clinton was like staying the week at the house and we were doing all of these things with him. And I said to my husband, I cannot believe that the agency that I went through charged thousands of dollars to this family to place me, and they didn't dig deep on my reference, and they didn't run a full background check on me, and I'm literally hanging out with the president of the United States. And he was like, yeah, that is crazy. And I said, you know what? These agencies are charging a lot of money. I could do this way better. And
Yeah.
he had an entrepreneurial mind too. He hadn't started his first company yet. He was still working as a car salesman, but he was like, let's do it. I've got you, basically. And so I started down the road of starting my own agency. And this was, 1999. There was no good internet. There was no real way to research, and nobody was going to help me. No other agencies wanted to help me. So I just started my own agency. I mean, just kind of like, okay, I guess I need a website. I'm going to run some ads in the newspaper and the Penny Saver and all the places. And just kind of started that, got my first client, and then I was hooked. I placed my first nanny and I was like, I have this post that's holy bleep, I have a business. And it was like, that's how I felt. Somebody paid me $1,500 to find them a nanny, and I was like hooked. And from
Yeah.
that point, it was trial and error. I was, trying different things out, and I got my business to a place. Back then, everybody wanted to make $5,000 a month. That was like the be all and end all. And I got my business to $5,000 a month within like 4 months. And I left my nanny job on good terms. They were wonderful people, wonderful, wonderful people. They were so happy for me. Left my nanny job on good terms and went full force into running my own business. I then, a couple of years later, I got pregnant with twins. I was able to I remember running my agency, dealing with clients all the way up until the day I gave birth. And then I was back on the day after I gave birth. And having this agency with this consistent income provided a way for me to stay home with my newborn twins. And it also provided a way for my husband to slowly step back from his car sales. He was the top car salesman for years. So he had the sales. It allowed him a little bit of breathing room to reduce his hours there and start his business, which was a water damage restoration company.
Wow.
So, we kind of went down that path for a few years. He started his company. I had my company. Everything was great. We had another child 8 years later. And then I faced the most indescribable tragedy that you could ever imagine. Right after our third child was born, I had a little boy, my husband died. Yeah, he passed away tragically. Suddenly, our baby was only 8 weeks old. I had 8-year-old twins, and I was a widowed, single mom, young, 3 kids, and I was able to keep my house, this house that I'm in right now in a super high end neighborhood. I've had it for almost 20 years. If I didn't have my nanny agency and my business acumen that I had developed through the time, of working with him and like, helping him with his business and growing my business, I would have had to move in with my in-laws. I would have been in Arizona with my kids, living with them. And I didn't have to. I had choices. I was able to take a step back. This is like I like to insert this in it because I think you know this person. There was one agency. I had reached out to a lot of different agencies through the years to see like, do you want to collaborate with me? I've always been a collaborator, and I got a lot of like doors slammed in my face. Like, no, we don't collaborate with other agencies. What are you talking about? There was one agency, and we're still very, very good friends to this day. Nannies, Dara Green, or now Dara Yates.
Yeah.
And I know that you know her, Danny. She and I became very good friends, and we would refer back and forth and help each other with our business, for years and years and years. And when my husband passed away, I was able to hand over my entire client roster to her. And I was able to take 3 months to just grieve, help my children grieve, and figure out what we were going to do with my husband's service business. And so that sort of planted a seed in me way back then. The collaboration in this beautiful, non-competitive relationship that I had with someone who was my biggest competitor in this
Yeah.
space. She took everything over. She placed all my clients. We split the money. She helped me with everything. And I thought to myself, in addition to just like what an amazing person she is, but I thought like this is what this industry needs. This industry needs people who collaborate, like with their own businesses should not be pitted against each other, even if they're in the same location, because truly there is no competition if you're operating from your specific why. And if you're shining your heart out there, the right clients will come to you, and that person can also get their great clients. And there's enough business for all of us. So, husband passed away. I had this beautiful collaborative relationship with another agency. And, when I came back into focus and I was able to start working again after the shock of everything, you don't really ever get over something like that. But the shock, you learn to walk alongside it, right? I came back in, I actually had to take over his business too. And what I found with his business was that it was losing $600,000 a year. So it was 600K in the hole, cash coming in from different departments that were like eating away at the most profitable department. So I had to go into that company and get rid of like a construction division that wasn't working. I had to lean out a plumbing division, and then I had to focus on water damage. And I was able to take that company within 1.5 years. I was able to take it from $600,000 loss to $5 million total revenue annually. And
Wow.
there were a lot of accolades that came with that. I had like a PR stint. Like I was interviewed by MSNBC. I was in like all types of media for that. And the reason that's not nanny related, but it is business related. And what a lot of people don't know about me is that yes, I ran a nanny agency for 25 years. I sold it for a profit. But I also am someone who understands business from a core level to where I could go in and I could take a struggling, dying business that wasn't in an industry that I even care about, construction, water damage. And I was able to cut what didn't need to be there and flip it, right? And so
Yeah.
we ran that for a few years, and then we sold that. And then I was just left with back to just the nanny agency. I started to really I'd say about 8 years ago, I really started to feel I'm a very spiritual person, and I feel that we all sort of have a calling. And I started to really be pulled in a direction of helping women.
Yeah.
It's like a light bulb went on for me, and it was like, okay, I don't have a business degree, but I'm really good at business. And these things that I've done have not been hard for me. They've sort of come naturally. It's not something I had to go to school to learn. A lot of people that want to have businesses that are service based, nanny agency, whatever, they really don't know how to like cut through the weeds and just do one thing after the other to get to where they want to be. What I was seeing was that people would come to me and say, how did you do this? How do you live this lifestyle? How are you? And I had another child by this point. So there's another marriage in there that only lasted 2 years that we won't get into that. But so I had 4 children, single mom, like no baby daddy in the picture that was helping with anything, no child support, nothing like that. Uh, And I was, driving a sports car and an SUV, and I had, was going to Europe and taking my kids on trips, and people would be like, "How are you doing this?" And I was business. I've created businesses that I can run from anywhere and that are profitable. And so I really felt strongly like the fact that this stuff is not hard for me means that I'm supposed to be teaching it to other people. And so I went through
Yeah.
this metamorphosis where I was like, okay, I don't like being in water damage and construction. I don't like running a crew of 25 men. I don't like any of that. I do like the nanny agency. And I sort of want to like, I don't know, start coaching women or helping them in some way. So on a whim, one day I had a coach at the time and I was like, I just don't know what to teach. And I was doing mindset stuff and that was doing okay. But I said, I wonder if people would want to learn how to start a nanny agency. And she was like, no, just put it out there. So one day I was like in the Women Helping Women's Entrepreneur group on Facebook and I just posted like, hey, I've owned a nanny agency for a long time. I could make it easy for anyone who wants to do it. Would anyone be interested? I got like 25 people immediately, like, yes. And I started the Nanny Agency Academy. I onboarded some students. I think I was charging $1,000. I had people on like $200 a month payment plans. As I went, I created an 8-week course. And I just every week would deliver a module live to this group.
Yeah.
And so every 3 months I would rerun that. And I was starting to, make more and more and more money with it. And that was 8 years ago. It kind of evolved through the years. It's not launched every 3 months anymore. It's evergreen. We have multiple different ways to work with us. Now we can do an all-in package where my team builds your website, does your branding, manages your social media. You get coaching with me. You get a mastermind with other agencies, which goes back to the whole thing with Dara. I have now a mastermind group with like hundreds of agencies around the world who collaborate with each other every single day. It's the most supportive space on the internet for nanny agencies that you could ever imagine. So that's why I'm here. And you could probably tell, and I know you guys have seen me work with my clients. I'm up at 5 a.m. sometimes with clients across the country. They're meeting with you guys that need my help. And, I love what I do so much that I will make myself available at any hour, anytime, because I can't even tell you how good it feels to me to watch another woman succeed in the way that I have and to have options and to have the ability to take care of her family and enjoy her life. So that's my story.
It's amazing. Just me being a male in this sphere, I have to say that like it is interesting that people have let me in as far as they have because they
Yeah.
know that I don't get it. But I think me knowing that I know that I don't get it is helpful. So, but like, you had mentioned that you had a coach yourself. And how is like even having a coach benefit that you knew that you should have one and now you've kind of stepped into that role for tons of people?
I mentioned before, I didn't finish college. I did like the first 2 years of college and then I started my business. And so I have always been, I don't know if I have ADHD or something that's undiagnosed. I probably do. But I've always been someone who learns better hands on than like, through reading a book. So I knew that I wanted to somehow get into coaching. 8 years ago, there was all these coaches and they were all saying that they were making millions of dollars. And yes, some of them were, some of them weren't. But I thought like I definitely have something that people need. And the only way that I'm going to be able to, quickly, I could figure it out on my own, but why would I want to spend 5, 10 years figuring it out on my own? There was a coach that I had followed and her name was Jenny Fenig. I had read a book that she wrote and I really loved what she was doing. And so I joined her mastermind and I was with her for about a year and then I joined it again the following year. And yeah, it was expensive. It was like a $10,000 investment. And I was like, not sure, yeah, I had sold some businesses and stuff, but there were still, sometimes even at a high financial level, you have a lot more responsibility. So there wasn't like a lot of cash flow. And I kind of like put
Right.
myself into a position of like, I don't want to do the flood thing anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. I'm selling everything off. And I had about 2 years worth of like income banked. I sold a property that I had owned. Like I sort of put everything on the line, honestly. So I wanted to make this life change. And I knew if I want to replace my income in 2 years, I've got to work with someone who knows what they're doing and is doing what I want to do. And that's why I hired the coach. And that's why I do what I do. And I like to provide that for people, that easy way to where you want to get.
Yeah. And so you and your team help with like so many things. I'm
Mhm.
guessing a lot of that from like hands on,
Yeah.
really actually knowing how all of that works. What is like the hardest part that you find like agency owners have? Like, is it all over the place and that's why your team has developed like all of those areas? Or is there one thing that like really stands out where you should be
So
like, That's one of those places.
So there's two parts to our demographic, and they both have a real specific thing that I see them constantly coming to me with. The first would be the person who hasn't started their nanny agency yet. And what I find there is that they don't know how where to start. They have the idea, maybe they've started a website or they think they're doing social media marketing or something, but they get stuck on like, what do I put in my contracts? Am I supposed to employ the nannies? Do I need insurance? What am I supposed to charge? And so I see a lot of that. Or I have another really big issue that I see with someone who hasn't quite launched their agency yet is thinking that they have to charge these low prices because they're quote unquote new. So that's that side of my demographic. That's what I see with them. With the established agencies, and I work with agencies, I just got done with a 6-month consulting gig with an agency that's been in business for 15 years. And they came to me because they had tried everything to increase their revenue and nothing was working. And so that's what I see with the either established or already launched agencies. It's like, how do I get clients, period? Or how do I get more clients? Like, I'm making 100 grand a year. I really want to be making 250. Or I've only done 3 or 4 placements and then crickets. I can't get any more families. And so that side of my demographic typically comes to me with, what do I do to get more business in here consistently? Both of those, we meet our clients where they're at, but
Mhm.
in both of those cases, it's all about, providing the information. Like, here's the contract that you need to use. Here's the legal stuff you need to know. Here's the way you set yourself up so that your profitability is over 95%. You don't want to be employing people. That's the way that I roll. I have a nanny agency with me right now that was on the employment model, and they're just like, we can't scale our revenue. And I said, well, you can't because you're on this model where the clients are paying you and then you're having to pay insurance and, you know, payroll and all of that. And the nannies aren't able to make a competitive wage because you've got to take your cut. So we immediately switched that around to a different model, and they've already sold a placement at that different model, which is going to be about 93% profit. So that's really what, the two types of people that we help and what their issues are and what we do to help them.
A very similar way, what are some of those like mistakes then that people are making like right off the bat? And they've been like, I've started my agency, or they're even thinking about, I don't know, what I suppose, what is those mistakes before they happen that you're always saying, oh, there's a much better way to be doing this than what you're doing right now?
Undervaluing themselves, charging too little, thinking that the market is saturated. I don't care where you are, no market is saturated if you know what you're doing. And that usually trips people out, but it's like, I have a specific way of building a business around your personal why, and everyone's why is different. And when you nail your messaging down to your why and you're speaking directly to the type of client you want, you're sort of niching within this industry, you will not have a problem with competition. And that sort of blows people's minds. Um, and then I also have people who have come to me that have like poured a bunch of money into paid Facebook ads or paid Google ads, which is a pretty common thing that people do. And what happens when you do those, you'll get tons of nanny candidates, but no family is going to see your ad because all the job seekers are going to eat up your budget. And so I've had people come just like crying, like, I've spent $10,000 on Google ads and I only got one placement, and have to explain to them why that happened.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of learning when it comes to all of these business 101 acumen type of
Mhm.
things. Is there a place where you feel like as a business owner that you have like a really special like sauce? And I feel like we've kind of like talked around that, but is there like, can you put a finger on it for
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. So we're talking about nanny agencies here. I do help other industries. I have clients in other industries as well that I do this. And I can tell you that my secret sauce is getting to know my client on a level I don't know if this is just a spiritual gift I've been given, but I'm really good at pulling the gold out of each and every client and showcasing that in their brand. And that is like what makes all the difference. It truly is. There could be 15 nanny agencies in your town and they're all just, doing whatever they can do to get clients. And when you show up like solid and grounded in your why, and you know who you want to work with and what keeps them up at night and where they're hanging out and what they're stressing out about, and you're talking directly to that, competition is irrelevant. in any industry, not just this. I have a snow plowing company in Colorado that I'm helping right now that we're doing this with, and he's already seen a turnaround in his business because I got to know, like, why do you love doing this work? Why do you wanna help people? And he's been doing it for 20 years, you know? And so we're showcasing that, and people are loving it.
That's incredible, and I feel like that there's no, loss of snow in Colorado, so
No, but there's
that's
a lot of snow plowing businesses, and there's a lot of them, and they're all out there saying, "We do this, and we do that, and we can help you with this, and we can help you with that." But when you come out and say, like, "I've been servicing Colorado for 20 years, and this is, like, why my heart is in this because I want your family to be safer," and da 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 da, like, that kind of a thing, it pulls the client in better and faster, and it helps you to stand out from the competition. I have a client right now, a mother and daughter, that they are fourth generation caregivers in their family. Their great grandmother was a nanny for a family, for a wealthy family, and then she raised the children of the children that she was a nanny for. And they have this like long-standing history. They started their agency before they came to me, and they were sort of touching on that. And I was like, you guys, that needs to be the whole thing. Like that is they're faith-based and they're fourth generation caregivers in Texas. We need to be talking about grandma, great grandma, great great grandma, why you're so passionate, mother, daughter. Like these aren't just things that you sort of put in your content. This is like the whole thing. And so, with them in particular, I'm rewriting their whole marketing story, their whole brand story, their whole brand voice around that. And that's going to change everything for them. So that's really what my magic is I can see these things. And as a marketer, I know which threads to pull on that are going to make you look different. And then I also know how to do digital marketing and show you how to, 30 minutes a day, get yourself in front of your ideal clients on social media without spending a dollar. So that's always great.
That's more than great. I mean, it's really that is really magical of being able to step back and analyze what
Mhm.
you have right here in front of you and
Yeah.
what is the best way to showcase this. I think, for any nanny agency owner listening, like they'll know that like when they've talked to candidates, that
Hmm.
candidates hardly ever know what makes them a standout candidate.
Right.
I remember talking to a candidate who glossed over that they were a firefighter. And I was like, what are you talking? I was like, that is like the biggest coolest thing about you right now is that
Yeah.
families could be possibly hiring a firefighter to watch their
Mhm.
children. And this candidate was like, "Oh, I really didn't realize that." And you're like, "Yeah." And so many people don't really realize what makes them an amazing standout. So that's an incredible gift that you can be shining that light
Yeah.
on them.
And that's what I learned, from that coaching experience. The coach that I worked with for 2 years in her mastermind is that was sort of how she was too. It was like she would tell me, "Rebecca, you have this, 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 and this that most people don't have." She even kinda mentioned she used to tell me that, like, "You're gonna get to a place where people will be transformed just by being in your energy." And it's true. I see it happening. I see people just, into my vicinity and just being around my vibe changes them and up levels them. And that's not to be like conceited or anything. It's a gift that I have. And in addition to really just being a natural marketer, I have the brain of a marketer. And another thing that I should say about like what trips people up is a lot of times they're afraid to what was I just gonna say? I completely lost it, Annie. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. I lose things. I lose things all the time.
Yeah, just completely lost what I was gonna say, but it'll come back. So you'll probably have to edit that out.
No, no, we're keeping
People
all this. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
I mean, I don't care. I have people that are, you know, they're afraid to put themselves out there online. Like they don't want to brand like a personal Facebook page, which is an integral part of being able to infiltrate where your clients are. You have to do this off of a personal page, not a business page. I
Yeah.
have people that, have blocks around being visible. And the thing is, when you are a service based business, you have to be visible as an owner, even if it means like creating an AI avatar of yourself, which I do all the time on Instagram because I just don't have time, to be recording these reels. Just your face, your voice, your message has to be shown to your audience over and over again in order for them to know, like, and trust you.
Mhm.
Because this, especially in the nanny agency industry, like we're dealing with people and their children. You can't really go faceless with your marketing in this type of an industry. And a lot of people want to, but you really can't. So I feel like that's a block that I help people push through as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably a really big one too that's underlying in a lot of this is just that it can people get nervous around that in general,
Mhm.
especially when you're doing something big like
Of
starting a
course.
business or owning a business, and there's a lot of weight there. And when people even tell you, "Hey, you're doing a great job at this business," it can kind of be hard to say like, "Yeah, I know. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you saw that." It's so easy to brush it off or not
Mhm.
give yourself any of your flowers or run that victory lap. But you should and you have to, like time and time again, because that's how you reflect back to people
Totally.
that that's the reason that they're coming to you is because you're crushing it all the time in all these
Mhm.
places, and it's okay if you're not crushing it all the time. You don't have to put yourself on that level, but yeah,
But putting yourself out there, and also, I see people falling into the trap of wanting everything to be perfect. I had to get
yes,
over that so long ago. I'm a Virgo. I love perfection. But if you look at what I put online, it's never perfect. It's often just me showing up with my hair in a bun. I just got out of yoga and I'm like, I got to tell you guys about this. And that's the way you almost have to be. You don't have to be as low key as me. I show up as who I am because I want I work so closely with my clients that if they don't like the way I show up, in my marketing, then they should go to someone who shows up in a suit and does their thing.
yeah,
I like to be me, but none of my social grid doesn't look perfect. Nothing's perfect. It's just the message is getting out there and it works. And so that's something that I think a lot of agency owners get trapped in is like wanting this gorgeous like Instagram feed. It's like that's super cool, but most potential clients aren't going to click to look at your whole feed anyway. They're not going to be
yeah,
looking at your grid, they're swiping. So we want something that stops the scroll and gets them hooked and gets them to trust you. That is way more important than having a perfectly curated grid. And that's something that I have that's something that like when I see who succeeds the fastest and who takes longer to make money, it's always the ones that want everything to look perfect that take forever. The ones who just hit the ground running and just work with what they have and go through the steps that I teach them. I had a client a couple of months ago make $20,000 in her first month without a website. We were still building her website because she put herself out there every day on social media the way that I taught her. She got like two $10,000 clients that month. Where
yeah.
I have other people that go, I'm not going to do that until my website's done and until my looks perfect. And it's like, okay, well, it's going to take you 3 months then, to probably get your first client. That's up to you.
Yeah, if that, because it can be a lot of fun to think about the imagination of a business, but really, like a pen, paper, and a
Mhm.
telephone is going to get you so much further than like spending so much time building out your website to make every button click,
Yeah.
do what you want.
And my
Yeah,
team does all that for you, but I always can tell the ones that are gonna be the most successful are the ones that dive into the course and start doing the marketing while we're working on their website. They're gonna brand as their social medias, and they're just gonna roll without a website. And then it's like by the time the website's there, then it's even more. It's like then you have even more backing and more ways to market. I
yeah.
mean,
Well, Rebecca, I think I could talk to you like for a long time. Can we do this again?
yeah.
Sometime I have like way more questions to ask you, but how can people get involved working with you and learn more about everything that you're doing?
So I have so many different ways to work with me. The best way would be to just DM me, even on Instagram or Facebook. It's the Nanny Agency Startup Academy on Instagram. You have a link, I think, to a landing page that shows most of what I offer. There's a lot of testimonials on that landing page. They can go there. I'm all over social media. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. Find me, send me a DM. I can give you Danny, I can send you a calendar link. I think I actually sent it to Kimber. Maybe I sent it to
Yeah.
you. A
We'll
calendar
we'll
link
we'll get it.
to book on a
Yeah.
call. Yeah, to book a call with me. I don't want to promote like one specific package here because I do so many different things. I have an all-in package that would include 12 months of on-demand Zoom coaching with me, lifetime access to our mastermind, fully developed 5-page website, 6 months of social media management, all your branding and marketing done by us. And that's the high ticket, get it all done thing. And then from there we can step down and I create custom packages for people all the time. So if you're an agency that's been in business for a year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and you're like, I need help getting into this digital age and I don't know how to use AI for marketing and I need to learn how to get more clients, like I'll put something together for you. If you're brand new and you want us to do it all for you, I'll put that together for you. We're very flexible. So
Yeah.
I think the best idea is to just jump on a call with me. I love getting on calls with people who are in this industry. So get the link, jump on my calendar, and I'll show you everything.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is people just gotta reach out and see what you can do with them.
Yeah.
Like, start just figuring out, just jump in is
Yeah,
the
there's
thing.
no one size fits all. And when someone DMs me and says, "What do you charge?" It's like you have to get on a call with me because I can't I can't give you a price. I need to know what you need. I know what my big package costs and I know what my, just what it costs just to take the course. But oftentimes people will need some sort of bespoke thing. And so I've worked out 3-month packages with people. I've worked out 6-month custom packages with people. I am not a person who jumps on a sales call and just goes for the jugular and tries to get your money. It's not a sales call. It's a discovery call. It's so that I can learn about you. And if I think you're a good fit and I think we can help you, then I'll give you different ways to work with us. And that's sort of what I'm known for. I'm not like some high pressure salesperson. I truly want to help and I want to make it work for all of my clients. So
Amazing.
best thing to do is keep
Rebecca,
my calendar.
Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us. We will do this again
Yes.
because I have so many questions to ask you. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you giving us your time, your wisdom, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having me. And I would love to do this with you as often as you want. I have so much information that we can talk about that will help this
Perfect.
industry. Like I'm available whenever.
Awesome. Well, Rebecca, thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny.